If only there was someone nominated to the court a couple years ago that like probably every current member of the court probably would have like had no problem putting on the court right now. I can't remember his name though.
It rhymes with Schmerick Flarland. Welcome to FindLaw's Don't Judge Me, the podcast about the law in real life. I'm Laura Temme, and I'm joined by Joe Fawbush.
Hey, everybody.
Andy Leonati.
Good morning.
And Allie Marshall.
Hello.
So we're recording on a Monday, I think for the first time. How's everybody doing?
I think you can sense the dearth of energy here.
But you're using words like dearth, so I have high hopes.
I'm on about my third cup of coffee, so I'll perk up as we go along here.
Great. Well, that's perfect because we're starting with my segment anyway. Since the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we've heard a lot of talk about what the Democrats might do to prevent a conservative majority on the Supreme Court. Now, the fact that the Supreme Court is supposed to be apolitical aside, the talk surrounding this is dramatic. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
It's getting a little hot around here, yeah.
Yes.
It's, taking on a bit of movie-esque tones.
It seems like the most common outcry is that the Democrats will attempt to pack the court, meaning they will add more liberal justices to rebalance the current ideological makeup of the court. And no one is more famous for trying to pack the court than President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So everybody, once again, I'm back to be the time-traveling lawyer and force you guys to listen to me be a nerd about history.
Yay!
I know! So exciting!
These are good, though. I like it.
Now, I'm not here to defend FDR or argue for a 15-justice Supreme Court. I just really enjoy the intricacies of legal history, especially when I can drag the three of you down with me. So, are you ready?
Okay.
Buckle in.
Yes.
FDR's 1937 proposal to add 6 justices to the Supreme Court is often characterized as a ham-fisted attempt to circumvent a court that didn't want to go along with his New Deal policies. And in a way it was. But the conflict had its roots in something very important, but also kind of boring. Supreme Court retirement salaries.
Ugh.
There we go. I was waiting for a boo.
Tell me more.
I will. Thank you, Joe. So the Constitution protects judges' salaries, but it says nothing about retirement funds. The framers were staunchly against them because they viewed government-provided pensions as a corrupt patronage. But of course, those views eventually changed. And in the decades that followed the first Supreme Court retirement packages, Congress used those retirement funds to manipulate the court. They even once passed legislation that certain justices they didn't like would lose their pensions if they didn't leave the court within a certain time frame. So this became a pretty dramatic bargaining chip. Then in 1932, Congress passed a law that cut justices' retirement salaries in half, a move that the Attorney General of the time said would encourage justices to, quote, hang on like grim death until the angel Gabriel blows his horn.
I wish people still talk like that.
Anyway, that's exactly what happened. FDR tried to get a law passed reinstating the previous retirement package in 1935, but that failed. And around the same time, the Supreme Court began overturning key aspects of his New Deal, a series of sweeping economic policies aimed at pulling the United States out of the Great Depression. The Supreme Court had been a pretty powerfully conservative force since the 1880s, and they just did not jive well with FDR's progressive policies. Plus, most of the justices at that time had been on the court for at least a decade, and FDR didn't like that during his first term, he didn't get the single chance to nominate a justice of his own. So, after his re-election in 1936, he decided to change that. And according to historian Jeff Shasel, who wrote the book Supreme Court Power, Franklin Roosevelt versus the Supreme Court, FDR didn't see any kind of contradiction between the Constitution and the New Deal. The problem he saw was the particular justices on the Supreme Court that he was dealing with. But as I mentioned before, the justices didn't have much incentive to step down, and they weren't going to come around to FDR's line of thinking anytime soon. That's when he had the idea to pack the court. Aiming to push older justices to step down, his proposal was to add a justice to the court for each sitting justice who refused to retire after 70. And this apparently followed a model that was used in the 1860s and again in the 1910s, but it drew a lot of criticism from Congress, as well as FDR's own administration. His own vice president reportedly held his nose and gave a thumbs down when the plan was read aloud to the Senate, which And don't take this the wrong way, but Andy, it reminded me of you.
That is something I would do.
Sounds like an Andy move.
I am known for my bad body language in in a corporate meeting environment.
So, as you might guess, this plan didn't make it very far. The public wasn't happy with it, Congress wasn't happy with it, and the justices on the Supreme Court certainly weren't happy with it. But shortly after, the Supreme Court upheld a few aspects of the New Deal, including the federal minimum wage and the National Labor Relations Act, which we still use today. Plus, one justice did decide to retire, giving FDR the chance to nominate, and some call the court's sudden support of the New Deal policies the switch in time that saved 9. I don't know if you guys have heard this phrase. Yeah, I know. They like to rhyme. I don't know what it is with lawyers and rhyming, but I hate it. Like, just stop. But what's interesting to me is that the first opinion that came down in FDR's favor actually came out before his court packing plan was revealed. But in any event, FDR finally got what he wanted all along, and the court packing debacle just kind of died there.
Wow.
Oh, did you enjoy that, or was that too much history on a Monday morning?
No, I did. It was very interesting.
I will say that was all new information to me. Like, yeah, I mean, I had heard the switch in time that saved 9, but yeah, I did have kind of just the overall impression that it was about New Deal legislation, and that was the main reason that he was getting frustrated, was because he didn't have the judges on his side. But yeah, I didn't know anything about the retirement, but that does make sense, and that's kind of typical of what happens with history, right? We tend to simplify it, but there's a lot going on.
Leave out the boring stuff.
Yeah. Not us, though.
Nope.
Not us.
I thrive on the boring stuff.
We come in red hot every episode.
So that's all I have for this edition of Time Traveling Lawyer. I'm trying really hard to make this an actual segment. We'll see if the other 3 will let me.
I love it.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be doing our Supreme Court fan fiction, I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Artificial intelligence continues to reshape America's legal system. One sophisticated AI tool is QuickCheck Judicial, which analyzes multiple filings from a single matter, showing judges what cases you and your opponent did or did not cite. This gives judges greater insight into both sides' arguments. But what if you could gain that same insight using the same tool your judge has? Well, now you can. QuickCheck Judicial is coming later this summer. Be the first to see it. Visit tr.com/quick-check.
And we're back. So Andy, you're kind of the mastermind behind what we're doing today. If you want to fill everybody in on how we've decided to frame our talk about Supreme Court institutional changes.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. So the rush to, we're now recording this a couple days after the Amy Coney Barrett nomination / COVID super spreader event, which is putting a quick confirmation in a little bit. It's getting a little murkier. But anyway, the rush to confirm her, we'll say, before the end of this presidential term, has set off the flurry of speculation about how a hypothetical President Biden and a hypothetical Democratic Party-controlled Senate should pack the court. Some say he should expand the court by 2 seats to maintain the status quo ideological balance before Ginsburg's deaths, while others have been, like you said earlier, exuberant in their ideas. I'll just say off the bat that I'm personally in favor of de-escalation in a situation like this. I'm not really looking forward to a 47 justice court by the year 2042 or whenever. But that doesn't mean that I don't have my own fantasies about what I think the court should look like. And I know that all of you do too. So I just want to play a fun game of what if you were in charge, president, dictator, generalissimo, general secretary of the Communist Party, or whatever, what does your ideal Supreme Court look like? I will say that nothing is out of bounds, so I'm hoping that some of you actually have some really asinine ideas.
I do, don't worry.
or or just some really interesting good ideas that the rest of us can rip to shreds. I think, Joe, we'll start with you. We'll start with what I'm assuming is probably the most sober-minded plan. So I'm going to go to Joe first. Let's hear your elevator pitch.
All right, sounds good. Although I didn't know that I could be a generalissimo for this segment. Can we all agree that for this one at least, I'm called generalissimo?
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
All right. That's the start of my fantasy. I could end there, honestly. No, I think, the issue is that we don't want to have the Supreme Court keep losing its credibility, which seems to be what's happening. So, I don't want it to be a political consideration. I think court packing is a terrible idea. But if I could just wave a magic wand, what I would do is have a multi-party system. I think that would actually solve quite a few of our issues. So, that's not really very feasible. But if we could just have a little bit more of proportional representation in Congress, I think that would probably be my ideal. But absent that, I would probably do something like a 15-court bench where Democrats get 5 justices, Republicans get 5 justices, and then those 10 justices select 5 other justices by unanimous consent, where at least a third of the bench would not be, party affiliated. And that at least would take it a little bit out of the hands of ultra partisans on both sides. And then we would at least have a little bit more of we would have a little bit more of a separation between a political party and the bench. And that's kind of the goal for me, is to separate ideological justices from their parties and kind of get the bench back to this neutral arbiter of the law. I mean, I know that's a bit of a fantasy in itself, but it's important to at least try to have that. So I think that would probably be my first choice. I've got some other ideas, but that's probably the one that I would go with.
That's the Pete Buttigieg plan.
It is the Pete Buttigieg plan. Although I think actually it was first proposed by some law professors, and I think
Okay.
he picked it up. It wasn't like his idea, but I think it's probably the most realistic one that can be done. That's fairest for everyone involved.
What are I want to hear some of your other ideas.
I just want to say one quick thing about that one. I mean, I've seen that idea floated, and I like that it does sort of aim at balancing things out. I do kind of wonder if 15 justices is going to end up being too many cooks in the kitchen, as it were.
Yes.
That's my concern about that one.
I mean, you could do 3, 3, and 3, and it would still, I mean, that's fine. I think the idea with 15 is that you can't just make judges retire and stuff,
right.
So you'd have to expand it. But in theory, 3, 3, and 3 would work just the same. I personally, I don't know if all the justices could agree on 5, neutral justices to agree on. I think there would be a lot of behind the scenes negotiating. So, I mean, there are some issues with it, but I think at least there would be a little bit more of a trust in the Supreme Court that we'd have at least, a third of the court not directly affiliated with a political party.
What are some of your other ideas?
Me? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You said you had some others that you were going to hold back. Don't hold
Okay.
back.
All right. No, I will go all out. All right. I think my next best idea is called the Supreme Court Lottery, and that would make all of the federal appellate judges currently on circuit courts also Supreme Court associate justices, and then people would be randomly selected for 2-week periods, and so they would grant cert on certain cases. Then a new set of 9 justices would hear and decide the cases, and they'd go back to their home circuit to actually decide and write up the opinions. And, this wouldn't necessarily get rid of the partisan fighting, because then it would just move to lower courts, but there's more of them, so the issue about, controlling the Supreme Court for years and years wouldn't be quite as an issue. And then also it would be hard for the Supreme Court then to plan out cases where, like, for example, Justice Ginsburg, when she was trying to get equal rights for women under the Civil Rights Act and those sorts of things, she kind of advanced a line of cases and then ultimately decided it as a Supreme Court. And it would be harder for the Supreme Court justices to do this because you don't know who's going to decide the case that you pick up cert. So it would kind of put a little bit of brakes on making drastic changes to the law just because you wouldn't really know what's going on. So there would definitely be a risk reward in granting cert to some highly charged political cases. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but it would at least stop the Supreme Court from taking such a central role in some of these issues that maybe should really be decided by Congress.
Okay. A very sober-minded plan all around from Joe. Very...
From the Generalissimo.
Yeah, very technocratic, and just I've come to expect nothing less from you, Joe.
Yep.
So...
Just professionalism all the way. It's for the rest of us to act like fools, I guess.
All right.
Yeah. Laura, let's hear your plan.
You hoping for less professionalism from me? Because you're gonna get it. What Joe's proposing, I think they're good ideas. One thing that I wanted to touch on was term limits.
Sing it.
The number that I've seen floated around the most that I think makes the most sense is 18-year terms. I think this would probably go a long way to helping just have justices not be so tied to certain administrations because, they're in for a limited amount of time, but they're also, if they serve their full term, they would be serving for at least 3 different presidential administrations.
Would you also have term limits for lower federal courts?
Yeah, I think I would. If we had a term limit for the Supreme Court, once you're finished, you can go back to the federal courts. And, so if people can shuffle around, I think that would make sense. So if someone wanted to be federal circuit for a while, go up to the Supreme Court, come back, I would be fine with that, I think.
I would not be fine with that. It's like you've reached the top. Go write books.
But I just don't think that someone should have to retire from being a judge as soon as they're done at the Supreme Court. Depending on who. Well, because if we start getting younger justices on the Supreme Court, then all of a sudden you're forcing people into retirement when they're not even close to retirement age. So it just, I don't feel great about that. But I see where you're coming from. I do.
Well, I mean, I know we're waving a magic wand here, but the other issue is, would it be constitutional to have term limits? Mm-hmm. And, the thing about switching from the higher court to the lower court is that may be required under the Constitution unless we get a constitutional amendment. Mm-hmm. So there are some legal issues. Because I don't see us passing a constitutional amendment.
Probably not.
To actually get that done.
We couldn't even pass an amendment right now to declare that the sky is blue. So
that is very true. I mean, I have seen arguments that, the Constitution, when it says that judges are able to hold their offices during good behavior, and then that's it. I've seen plenty of arguments that say, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no limit on a specific office. It's just that they can be judges for as long as they maintain conduct that we expect from a judge.
Laura, I take it your title that you've assumed during this discussion is still just like president with a functioning Congress? Because if you were a Generalissimo like Joe, you wouldn't need a constitutional amendment, probably.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Although I could get into my more stupid suggestion if you would like.
I'd love to hear it. I absolutely would love to hear it.
I would love, if I could wave a magic wand and just do something stupid with the Supreme Court, I would love to have an extra vote from the SCOTUS law clerks. Because they do a lot of the research, they help write the opinions, but the catch is it has to be unanimous. So I want to watch all of these high-flying, fairly recent grads try to convince each other which way to vote, partially because I give it 15 minutes before it turns into Lord of the Flies.
Is there one clerk for each justice?
A few, don't they?
Yeah.
A few? That's a lot. That's a lot of cooks in that one little kitchen then.
It'd be like the ultimate jury. It'd be so much fun.
So you would just be like, just for the sheer spectacle of like a WWE cage match or something like that. That's
would
what
I
you
sell tickets to it? Yes. But I also, it would be interesting to have that extra perspective and to see, to see which way the case comes out if you have a group of people who have to come to a unanimous decision.
So would you then have 8 justices and the clerk vote is the 9th? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or we could
now
always
reducing the size of the court. You're speaking my language.
if we really wanted to, we could add a justice and then have the law clerk vote and bump it up to 11. No, you don't like that?
No, I'm expanding the court as always.
I'm just imagining a reality TV show like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, only with law clerks,
It would
and
be
they're
so
all
much
like,
fun to watch.
yeah, they're all screaming at each other,
Yeah.
and yeah, we have little asides to the camera where they talk dirt about each other.
Exactly. It'd be so much
I can get
fun.
behind this.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea.
Well, thanks, Laura. Allie, you've actually clerked for a judge.
Correct. Not at that level.
Well,
Let's be clear.
I would hope you wouldn't be on our little podcast.
Yeah, you'd probably be getting nominated if that was the case.
No, thank you.
I want to hear what your ideal scenario would be.
None of mine are serious. I'm sorry, folks. But what you guys came up with sound great. I had 2 ideas. My first was to have this is a fantasy world, mind you, right? So we'd get rid of all the current justices. We'd still have 9, but there'd be what from literary and TV shows. So my court is going to have Atticus Finch. That's actually my only literary justice. And then Elle Woods from Legally Blonde, Jackie Childs from Seinfeld, Jack McCoy from Law and Order. Yeah, Vinny Gambini from My Cousin Vinny, Ben Matlock, because, Christy Sullivan from Night Court, Philip Banks from The Fresh Prince, and Saul Goodman from Better Call Saul.
Yes.
I feel like it's more representative of society as a whole. It just would, it would draw a lot of attention. People would be invested a little bit more.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Can we have Judge Judy as Chief Justice?
Oh, there you go. Well, then so we got to get rid of somebody on the list then.
Oh,
then
no.
we got too many. Maybe Saul.
I feel like Uncle Phil would be just exquisite.
Oh, I like that a
I think
lot.
a lot of them actually would, in their own way, kind of bring something interesting to the table. Saul Goodman, obviously questionable ethics there, so maybe we get rid of him and we can put in Judge Judy there instead. And then my other idea really wasn't, well, I guess it's kind of a way that you could hack the court, but it'd take fantasy into reality. Over the weekend, my son asked me why I don't play video games, because then we would have something to chat about. And so that got me thinking, and I was like, well, maybe I would. And PlayStation 5 is coming out soon, and if there was a game called like Supreme Justice, where like you had to pack the Supreme Court with your own justices or something lame like that, then maybe I would be interested. Other than that, I'm not really interested in all the shooting games that they play. So anyway,
shout out to Allie's son. Maybe ask your mom once in a while what she's interested in.
What?
And then you can talk with her about that.
He's 10. That's not how it works yet.
Your ideas are way more fun than mine, Allie. I like that. If you're listening at home, just ignore everything I said and let's just pack the court with Judge Judy and Uncle
The world
Phil.
isn't very realistic right now anyway. Everything's gone wild.
Yeah.
We might as well mix it up a little bit.
I'm on board with it.
Shout out to my parents. Probably also appreciated the night court reference.
Yeah. Actually, now I'm going to forget. John Larroquette. Yeah, he was my one celebrity sighting I had in my life for like the longest time. I saw him on Bond Street in London, and I was like, Night Court!
Well, I appreciate you taking the very, very unserious route. I feel like mine is also kind of unserious, but you also, Allie, you had me at the current 9 justices all have to go. I was like, that's a good starting point, actually. My first thing is that I would reduce the court to 7. Laura, you already mentioned too many cooks in the kitchen. Right off the bat, we'd go down to 7. And then to get there, forced retirement at Social Security age.
Okay, FDR.
Which means that we would immediately eject Justices Thomas, Breyer, Alito, Sotomayor, and Roberts. Justices Kagan, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and in theory, Justice Barrett would be grandfathered in, leaving us with 3 openings. My idea then would be at least 3 of those justices would have to be graduates of non-Ivy League law schools.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that. That is fantastic.
Because the Ivy Tower can stick it. Pound sand. I realize that this would probably lead to just like, we'd have a bunch of we'd then always have like 3 justices from like University of Michigan or like Georgetown or something instead. But I think it's a start that we would have to have at least 3 non-Ivy. And then we would have to maintain gender balance on a rotating basis, meaning if the breakdown is currently 4 men and 3 women, then the next male opening would have to be filled by a woman. And so we would always have 4 and 3.
Okay,
somehow.
interesting.
Finally, to steal a partial idea from now what we're going to have to call the Buttigieg-Fawbush plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, thank you.
Appointments would come from the unanimous approval of the sitting justices. Presidential appointments would be over. And I would just have the Chief Justice seat rotating by term, just for fun, just so everybody gets a crack at it.
No, I love that. Because, yeah, we always talk about diversity on the court, but, you know, diversity of opinion comes from different life experiences, too.
So, like, if they had an online law degree from Basket's online career college.
Baskets.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if the ABA has recognized that one yet.
I don't know if most people will recognize that, but that's my new favorite old show.
Yeah, I guess I would have to flesh out that rule a little bit more. I would have to give the sitting justices a little bit of criteria then for who would qualify, how far they could take that non-Ivy requirement. I was just taking some notes. Laura was the only one who supported like a hard year term limit. I guess I don't know if you could call mine that as well. But a lot of diversity of thought among this panel as well for what we should do to the court, ranging from the sober-minded, serious to the completely deranged. So
in all seriousness, though, ultimately, whatever, if they do decide to embark on a change for the court or how to improve it or whatever happens, this whole political component of it and the panic when a justice dies in office is not good for finding a candidate that everyone can support or get behind or at least acknowledge has the experience, even if they don't agree with them. Mm-hmm. So something where this can be a maybe more planned, thought out process seems like a good idea to me.
Right. If only there was someone nominated to the court a couple years ago that like probably every current member of the court probably would have like had no problem putting on the court right now. I can't remember his name though.
It rhymes with Schmerich Flarland.
Yeah, I do like that we are all kind of in favor of the de-escalation approach.
Yeah, and I think none of us support court packing. Our opinion is that this would escalate rather than de-escalate the situation and would lead to a little bit more trouble rather than less.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Joe. And I think that's a good place for us to end the episode for today. Thank you so much for listening to Don't Judge Me. Please rate and review our show wherever you listen to podcasts and visit lp.findlaw.com for more content. FDR's 1937 proposal to add 6 justices to the Supreme Court is often characterized as a ham-fisted attempt to circumcise, that's not the right word. Oh my God, what's happening?
Yes.
Poor
That's our
FDR,
opener.
man.
That's the opener.
That's rough.